Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast. My name is Amir. Before I get into today's video, just want to thank everybody for following the podcast as well as subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. So thank you so much for your support. The Miami Heat season is officially over. They lost to the Boston Celtics yesterday by 34 points. They lost 4-1 in the 7-game series, which was pretty much expected at this point because the Miami Heat were going to battle with the Boston Celtics and they brought a knife into a gunfight or whatever that metaphor or phrase is. But anyway, unfortunate way to end the season, but again, it was expected. I thought the Heat were going to lose in 5 once we found out that Jimmy Butler was going to miss at least 4 to 6 weeks. And then, of course, Terry Rozier, we knew that he was going to miss some time with his neck injury, which, again, not entirely sure what the hell happened there, which is unfortunate because Terry was playing a really good month of basketball in the final month of the season and was finally assimilated with the team and was looking good. And Tyler Hero comes back from missing 26 or 7 games straight, and we finally look like we're getting our roster back together and healthy. And then Terry gets hurt and Duncan gets hurt with his back injury. He played in the series, but he was a shell of himself. He played, I don't know how many minutes he played yesterday, but games 4, he played 3 minutes. Games 3 in Miami, he played 7 minutes. So I don't even know how many points he scored total in this series, but well below his averages. So he wasn't right. So the story of the year for the Miami Heat is injuries, but they don't want to use that as an excuse. And honestly, in my opinion, of course, I think the Miami Heat would have fared better if they weren't hurt all year. I know the frustration with Jimmy Butler is that he has never played more than 65 games with the Miami Heat. He coasts, he load manages, doesn't try as hard. All that is frustrating, but the consistency of this team being injured across the board, it happens all the time. Players like Tyler Hero, he gets hurt all the time. Caleb Martin has been banged up. Duncan Robinson has been hurt, it seems like year after year. So would we have been a better seed if Tyler didn't play more than 42 games? Of course, like if Tyler played 50 games, 55 games, I think we win 1 or 2 extra games. If Jimmy didn't miss 22 games and only missed 15, if Bam didn't miss 12 and only missed like 6, if Caleb Martin didn't miss 17 and missed 7, etc. Kevin Love missed 15, 18 games. Like if all those guys missed a few less games, could the Miami Heat have been a 3 or 4 or 5 seed? I think so, because they were only 4 games out of the 2nd seed, 2 games from the 6th seed. Again, hampered by injuries all season long, but without that excuse, because I want to throw that out the window first, is because we still did not play great when our players were available, which wasn't a lot. I mean, Tyler, Jimmy, and Bam, our big 3, only played 27 games together. Let that sink in. 27 games. But across however many games they've played together, they have a below 500 winning percentage. Like, that's just not good. Those 3 players don't fit well. They don't mesh well. It's not like the Denver Nuggets where they have their star in Jovic, their second star in Murray, and then they have functional size and talent all around them that are not superstars or all-stars, but players like Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. and KCP and all these guys just fit well, function well, flow well, and it just works. And the Miami Heat, we don't have that right now. Outside of injuries, we still haven't been elite or good enough, essentially. So, yes, do I think we could have done better in the season if we weren't as hurt? And yes, do I think we could have done better if we had Terry Rozier, Duncan, and Jimmy against the Celtics? Of course. But we were still one of the worst offensive rated teams all year long. We were the bottom 3 in scoring. Like, this offense has been an issue for years. Our defense has been amazing. That's our identity. So there's nothing wrong with that. We were the 2nd best defensive rated team since January, number 5 overall by the end of the year. So defense helped carry us and kept us in games and helped us win games. Offense wasn't good enough to help us win and achieve more. And then injuries, of course, derailed the entire season. So it is what it is at this point. And, the Miami Heat now have a lot of decisions they need to make in this offseason. And so playoff basketball is not over, but basketball is over for the Miami Heat, and they need to go to the drawing board and they need to figure a few things out. And one, the biggest thing they need to figure out is Jimmy Butler's extension. He is up for a 2-year extension for $113 million. The Miami Heat need to figure out if they want to offer that to him. So right now he has 42 million or so that he's going to make next year. Let me double check that number. Actually, is it 42 or 48? I think it's 48. 48, excuse me. So he has 2 years left right now on his current contract. He has $48 million that he's going to be making next year. And in 2025, he has a player option for 52. On July 7th is when he could sign an extension. So basically, with the extension, so he'll still make $48 million next year. And basically, you take away his final year, basically that 2025, and you replace it with, instead of 52 million, he would be making around 55. And then in 2026, when he would be a free agent, he gets an extra year, which would be around 58 million. That gives you the 113. So we need to figure out whether we want to do that or not. So we either pay him the extension or possibly trade him. And I don't see the Miami Heat trading him. I don't see Jimmy Butler being happy without getting an extension and then just having him play out his final 2 years and then become an unrestricted free agent. Who knows? That could be a third option. So you either pay him, you either trade him, or he either just keeps his existing contract and doesn't extend, and then you sign him after 2 years and you see how he's doing at age 37. Like what kind of production has he provided? Has he stayed healthy? Has he missed 20, 30 games like he always does? We'll see when we get there. So that's looming. The other thing is, again, that's looming is upgrading the roster. How do we do that? Right now, we're a first apron team. And the projection, according to Bobby Marks, is that the Miami Heat are going to be a second apron team before the season starts. We're at $189 million committed right now with all of our contracts. That includes a potential first round pick when we have the 15th pick and we have the 43rd in the second round, plus incentives to Tyler Robinson, Duncan, or Tyler Hero. Jesus Christ. Excuse me for that. So anyway, the Miami Heat will be over the second apron if that's the case, and they will be screwed. Then they will not be able to use their mid-level exception, their buyout exception. They're not going to be able to aggregate contracts. So if they wanted to trade for Donovan Mitchell, who makes $33 million, you wouldn't be able to trade, let's say, a Duncan Robinson and a few other players. To add that up, you have to trade 1-for-1 at that point. So that's huge. So there's some ways they can alleviate their situation. That's if certain players that have options, which there are a lot, have player options on the Heat. That's if they opt out. So Kevin Love has a player option at $4 million. Caleb Martin has a player option at $7 million. Josh Richardson at $3 million. Thomas Bryant at $2 million. They have some unrestricted free agents like Haywood Highsmith, Patty Mills, DeLon Wright, that they probably are going to have to let walk at this point. And Caleb Martin, I don't think he's going to sign his that 1-year deal at $7 million. I think even though he didn't have the best year due to injuries and inconsistencies, he could still probably fetch $10 million a year, right? So why take that 7 when you can do like a 3-year, $30 to $40 million deal? Who knows? Max Strus got 60. I think Max is more of a specialist, but he is capable of playing defense a little bit. He's not just a 3-point shooter, but still he got 60 million. I don't know if Caleb can get the same, even though I think Caleb is probably a more impactful two-way player. But anyway, the Caleb Martin piece is going to be interesting. All the guys who have that 1-year player option, it's going to be interesting to see who decides to opt in for those. But assuming that Caleb Martin does opt out, then they'll have $7 million to play with. They'll be at 182. Second apron is at 189. So they just need to make sure they stay under the second apron. The other things they need to factor in is, do they trade Tyler Hero? Do they trade Terry Rozier? Do they trade Jimmy Butler, like I said, based on the extension piece? Who knows? But we know that they can't run it back. Essentially, they're not going to rebuild. There's no tanking. They're not going to fully rebuild where they're going to trade, let's say, Jimmy and Bam. Bam is not going anywhere. He's getting extended soon for that 3-year, $165 million or whatever it is. He's going to get that extension, no doubt in my mind. But we're not going to completely rebuild and sell everybody for picks and allow this to be Hawkes and Jovic's team. That's not going to happen. So we're going to retool. And are we going to retool around Jimmy and Bam? Well, and then does that mean we have to get rid of Tyler? Because usually it's the third man. And Tyler has proved that he's a good player, and he is possibly a third option on a championship team, maybe a fourth option, but not on this team. He does not fit well for some reason with Jimmy and Bam. Jimmy and Bam don't even necessarily fit together that seamlessly at all. But the third man out would be Tyler Hero, and we need to find better functional role players. And so by trading him, hypothetically, you can get a player like Cole Anthony as your backup point guard and Wendell Carter, who's a big center who could stretch the floor and protect the rim a little bit. Or you can get like a Finney Smith, perhaps, and one other player from the Nets, and get two players like that. I don't think you're gonna get a star for Tyler Hero anymore. That ship has sailed. The only way the Miami Heat get a star is if they want to possibly trade for Donovan Mitchell and give up the farm, all the picks, both the kids. You'd have to give up a lot, or like even for a Kevin Durant. Um, but right now we can't trade for Kevin Durant either because of the like right now we're technically going to be a second apron team, so we would only have to do like a 1-for-1 deal. But anyway, we need to address upgrading this roster because they can't technically run it back. I mean, if they do, then I'm sure a lot of Heat fans are going to go mutiny on this team and they're going to be so pissed off. But it's year 5 and this build has clearly not worked, and we need to change our roster and our rotation. And I don't see Jimmy and Bam going anywhere. So I think Tyler's the odd man out. Again, good player, didn't prove that he is a capable top tier player. And that kind of showed against Boston. To be fair, he was by himself with Bam, but still, he had one good game where he had 24 points, 14 assists. Otherwise, he played subpar. He averaged 16 points in the playoffs. Like, you're not a star. I'm sorry. You want it to be on the same level as Luka. Luka had like 40 points last night. Like, you want to be like even Trae Young, who can get you 25 and 10 like every single night. I'm sorry. You're not the same tier as those types of players. Even today, Udonis Haslam came out basically saying that on ESPN, talking to Perk, that he thinks Tyler Hero is a better sixth man coming off the bench, playing against second units, being that microwave scorer. I think his ceiling is Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford. I agree with that. Jordan Clarkson. We need him to come and cook against the mediocre second stringers, right? We can't get him to be out there with the first string because people hunt him. His defense has definitely improved over the years or so, but people hunt him. During the playoff series, you saw Derek White, you saw Drew Holiday, you saw Jaylen Brown, you saw Tatum hunt Tyler Hero. So having him come off the bench is going to be beneficial, I think, for his career and for the Miami Heat. So if we don't trade Tyler Hero, I don't know what we're going to do, honestly, like, because we're not going to have many options because we're going to be screwed. We're going to have the same team. And if Caleb Martin and Jay Rich for some reason opt out, we'll have like 9 million to play around with to fill in and get some vets. But I don't know if that's going to move the needle either, honestly. So I don't think I don't think all Miami Heat fans out there even want to see this team run it back to see what they can do fully healthy. I think we still need to add some size because right now we're one of the smallest teams in the NBA, always get out rebounded. And we have no athletic players on our team really outside of Caleb and Bam. So we need more athletic, youthful players. We need more 3-level scorers, guys who can create their own shots. So there's a lot we need to do. Like, because even with health, I don't know if that's enough for this team to win it all. Can they compete? Would they be a contender? If we had a full roster, yes, of course they would be. I think they would definitely be a contender if everybody was healthy going into playoffs. But winning it all, that's tough. I don't even know if we would have been able to beat the Celtics necessarily in the East, let alone the Nuggets or the T-Wolves, who look like they're emerging, or even Dallas. Like, Luka and Kyrie have looked really well, except for that game, was it 4, where they were down by 30 and they still almost came back. So yeah, there's a lot of questions to be asked. I'll make a lot of more videos during this offseason. We'll be doing roundtables. We'll have some guests. So a lot of more content for you, even though it's going to be the dog days of summer soon. There's going to be still a lot of things that this Miami Heat team are going to need to address. And it's going to be one important offseason for sure. So anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.